Undertale is one of the most celebrated indie games of all time, capturing the hearts of many with a hilarious and heartwarming adventure to bring a human child back from an underworld of monsters. Lead creator Toby Fox infused a lot of himself into this game, using characters to convey themes of friendship, non-violence, love, determination, and coexistence. His hand can also be seen in other areas, like the meta approach to game design, the occasional bit of social commentary, and especially the humor. Because of this, the game has a distinctly personal feel to it, giving rise to a passionate fan community. But how does Undertale fare as a video game? Does its cultural significance translate to positive critical assessment? In this video, I aim to answer these questions. Though very rudimentary and somewhat crude, the limited art direction complements the surreal and abstract tone of the game, with the expressive character designs being a particular highlight. The game also features a vague yet charming game world with plenty of evocative scenery punctuated by wonderfully appropriate sound design. My only complaint in regard to the visuals is that the lack of detail can look amateurish at times, and the excessive use of black backgrounds eventually starts to feel like a cop-out for proper set pieces. To me, Toby's greatest accomplishment with Undertale is the soundtrack. The music is absolutely astounding, effortlessly capturing every moment with tunes that I won't ever forget. The majority of Undertale is spent setting up scenarios that build its characters, both to the game's benefit and detriment. The game is very text-heavy, relying on witty dialogue and narration to keep players engaged, an approach that occasionally comes at the expense of well-paced gameplay. Sometimes the writing becomes overbearing and needlessly intrusive for the sake of a joke or an important story moment. The worst example is in the core and Hotland when Alphys will relentlessly contact the player like an obsessed girlfriend. Is it funny? Yes, but no less annoying when all I want is to enjoy some honest-to-goodness gameplay. One of the key pillars of game design is to introduce a mechanic and build upon it with increasing levels of complexity. And disappointingly, Undertale will present game concepts and abandon them before they have any time to breathe. It's disheartening to enjoy solving a brief environmental puzzle only to be thrust into an unrelated scripted section talking with characters and inspecting the surroundings. I appreciate how interactive the game world is, but it would have been nice to receive more tangible rewards for exploration, because all these text blurbs offer little to no substance gameplay-wise, and there are several occasions where the game will play up moments that ultimately result in nothing. And no, jokes and punchlines do not qualify as rewards. Easily the most engaging and fleshed out system Undertale has going for it is the combat, which is a term I use loosely, because ironically, fighting enemies outright is very de-emphasized. In fact, the game actively discourages it. The real meat of Undertale's combat system is the act option, which allows players to interact with monsters in unique ways. It's essentially a problem-solving exercise to decipher the monster's speech and/or visual design to act according to their best interest, at which point players can choose to spare the monster from death. Conversely, choosing to fight a monster simply requires a timed button press to inflict damage, which doesn't really take much effort or thought, even with multiple attack windows. Non-violent actions are the preferable option due to the greater mechanical depth and player involvement in a game that sorely needs it, not to mention the exclusive content awarded for doing so, which segues into perhaps Undertale's most important feature. While there is a good amount of gray area, Undertale can largely be separated into three routes. the genocide route, which requires killing every monster in the game, the pacifist route, in which players must spare every monster among other requirements, and the neutral route, which is a mixture of killing and sparing. Genocide is painfully tedious because it forces players to grind by exhaustively triggering enemy encounters in every area until there are literally no more to fight. The music becomes distorted and unpleasant, the difficulty curve is completely thrown off balance, and players miss out on areas, characters, puzzles, and sequences in the alternate routes. Other than the admittedly fun and challenging fights against Sans and Undyne, Genocide is clearly the bad route in every sense of the word. I'm completely aware that this is by design, but intentional or not, the overall game suffers under the weight of its message. In order for an RPG to be truly good, it has to accommodate for every playstyle on offer, and Undertale arguably does the opposite. The game clearly prioritizes the pacifist route with all of its unique content and superior battle options, and because not every route is equally fulfilling, players are pressured to make the quote-unquote right choices, in a game that pretends to support freedom of decision. However, something I appreciate about the game is its secrets. There's a lot more to the underground than meets the eye, and it has a wonderful way of prodding curiosity with peculiar imagery and suggestive comments, encouraging thorough exploration and experimentation. While unraveling the layers of mystery may not always be realistic without a guide, it does provide something extra for dedicated players to enjoy. Undertale is an entertaining experience, but it's not a particularly great video game. Many of its mechanics are woefully underdeveloped, and monster encounters are heavily skewed to a specific style of play, which hurts the game's value as an RPG. When comparing them, I feel that the pacifist route is the only one worth playing, giving the game a somewhat false sense of replay value. The battle system is by far the best part. Learning enemy attack patterns, deciphering the quickest way to spare a monster, adapting to each boss's unique gimmicks, it's all genuinely good fun. I just wish that fighting monsters was as compelling as the passive options. Despite the purpose of this video, there are plenty of other reasons to love Undertale. Whether it's the arresting music, the lovable characters, or the poignant themes, Toby Fox created something incredibly special, and his talents are plain to see. As an aspiring game developer, I find Undertale's success very inspirational, and I look forward to Toby's future endeavors.